we continue to observe Calypso History Month here on CTV. I am Leroy Bramwell. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We've got a packed show for you. We start with this news in Tobago, and I'm joined on set by attorney at law Martin George, and we're talking about Tobago murders and solving the crime and that sort of thing in Tobago. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Again.
Good morning,
how are you?
And good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. It's a pleasure to be here. And even though it's very sad circumstances, as I always say, we must learn to turn negative things into a positive. And that's how I view this whole scenario with Tobago and the recent double murder. I think it's a unique opportunity we have to be able to turn this around and show the world what Tobago is doing to ensure greater safety and security for visitors.
Interesting opening statement. But before we go further, he was a member of the legal fraternity, and I'm sure a colleague of yours.
Yes, he was.
I mean,
he was.
Away from us talking about the politics and everything, how did this greet you? I mean, what was the initial response?
Apart from being a colleague, he was also a friend, both himself and his wife. I mean, I've been to their home several times. You know, Richard is always a fun-loving person. Both of them, they loved, you know, dining, liming, having a good time. They were very much into Tobago. They enjoyed Tobago. They loved, you know, spending time with people in Tobago. And it's really a tragedy on several levels, you know. I mean, both professionally and personally, for me.
Understandably so. Does this now, as a legal fraternity, does it make attorneys sit down, judges sit down and wonder, how safe are we, you know, homes? Because we don't know the cause of this exactly.
I would hope that we are not so presumptuous in the profession as to assume that we are in a special category when it comes to the value of a human life. Because as far as I see it, and I mean, I speak personally, and as I say, I can only hope that my fellow members of the profession share these sentiments. Every life is precious. Every life is important. So while we may, of course, necessarily attach certain significance because of the profile of individuals, we must never ever discount the fact that each life lost through a senseless killing or a senseless murder in Trinidad and Tobago is an important thing, and it's something that we must never discount. We must never, you know, diminish the value of the humanity in this scenario, because each person would have mother, brother, father, sister. They would have persons who love them, who care for them, persons who depend on them. So we must never ever seek to put, you know, a special category to say, well, you know, this is the life of an attorney and it's different from the life of an ordinary citizen, because we must be concerned about the lives of ordinary citizens too. And that's why I always say, in any initiative we do, while we will focus specifically on certain areas and say, well, look, we want to ensure greater security for our visitors because, of course, the perception is important, we must also do it in a holistic manner that we put the safety and security of our citizens and residents as paramount importance also. We must take that approach. Otherwise, you know, persons will definitely get the feeling that you are not concerned about the ordinary citizen, and that could never be correct.
Okay. Following the murder, a senior officer in Tobago said the complexion of Tobago is changing in terms of crime, I assume. What do you make from that statement, the complexion of
I think it has changed already. That's the reality. And you see, I think what we have to do, we have to be honest about where we are at and recognize, okay, this is the problem, and then take steps to fix it. I think it has changed already. You've had a vast influx of illegal arms, illegal ammunition, illegal drugs flowing into Tobago on a regular basis. And we need to understand that once you have those things, the crime must follow. It's inevitable. You have persons who are on the run from the authorities in Trinidad who come to Tobago supposedly to lie low, but they don't stay lying low for very long. Within a week or two, they're back up to their old tricks, but they're just in a new environment, and they are also teaching the young Tobagonians the tricks of their trade. So we must face that reality and not always assume that, look, everything is somebody not from Tobago who is responsible or the perpetrators. Tobagonians may either wittingly or unwittingly have assisted or given information or participated in some way or another, and maybe not even realized, that by speaking about, well, those people there, that's an attorney's house, or this is, that kind of thing, that somebody might be listening to that and using that information possibly to plan some action or something. So we need a greater sense of awareness, a greater sensitivity, and there needs to be a public education campaign launched by the Tobago House of Assembly to sensitize Tobagonians that, look, each and every one of you needs to be your brother's keeper. Tobago used to be like that. And that's when Tobago was safe. But that really has changed. That's the reality, And when you think of how it has changed, there are persons who, you don't know your neighbor, you don't know who is this person driving through. So therefore, in other words, you have lost that contact, you've lost touch, and therefore, as a result, you stay in your corner and say, well, it's not my business, I'm not getting involved. No, Tobago needs to be different, and that needs to be led by the Tobago House of Assembly. Take, for instance, Leon. The THA has several divisions. You have a Secretary for Education, Secretary for Health. Do you know there's no Secretary for Safety and Security in Tobago? Absolutely none. So therefore, the THA has, as I say, we have to use these opportunities to show the world, well, look, hey, we are now recognizing the importance of this. We will probably appoint a position of a Secretary for Safety and Security to deal with island safety and security. Now, of course, you don't have police powers, but the point is you can implement strategies whereby you work alongside the police force, you work alongside, whichever other arms of the national security apparatus. I'm sure the Minister of National Security would support such an initiative and would assist and, give the necessary, materials and whatever you need to make that effective. So we need to use these opportunities to show the world, look, we have made changes.
Has there ever been the conversation about having such a secretary for security on the island, as you now mentioned?
Well, I don't know because I have not heard it discussed publicly, but I can tell you I have a meeting scheduled with Mr. London very soon, and I intend to raise it because I am particularly passionate about Tobago. I want to see things improve in Tobago, and that's one of the ways I know I can make a contribution, certainly by sharing the ideas. I have been to several international conferences all over the world on crime and safety and security. I have lots of knowledge and experience and expertise that I can bring to the table and share with the Assembly. And I'm willing to do that. I am also their representative on the Crime Stoppers Board. So therefore, in that capacity, I'm supposed to also, be updating the Chief Secretary, regularly. So therefore, in our meeting, which is supposed to be taking place soon, I intend to bring all these things to the table and show how we can work together to ensure that Tobago is safe and secure. We have to move to, one of the things I want to suggest also, we must start a campaign for Tobago to move towards zero. Moving towards zero. In other words, we must get the public in Tobago involved and get them to the point where they are saying, look, we want to move towards having 0 murders in 1 year. We must have 0 murders. So therefore, you get everybody involved. So therefore, it involves being proactive. It involves public education, letting people know, look, you have to be aware. I would like to set up a special hotline, separate and apart from the Crime Stoppers hotline. Right? And I've even come up with a name, and I would say that it could also be a good initiative in the memory and honor of the Wheelers. You could call it the Wheeler Island Security Hotline, WISH. So either you get like a 800 wish or something. No, the thing is, you have to think. You have to
creativity.
Think out. That's right.
And something that is catchy that can
and then notice that something like that would be a good legacy to show that their passing is not in vain. If you have something like that set up whereby Tobagonians know they can call this number and report information on suspected criminal activity, potential, so therefore the police can now go out and deal with it and quell the possible threat, then you will have enhanced security, because you can't just be reactive. If you're looking at total policing and you're looking at trying to ensure total safety and security for your citizens, you can't just react to things. You must be proactive. You must be planning. You must be looking ahead. You must be trying to suss out where the potential threats are, where the hotspots are, and go in and deal with them before they erupt.
Trinidad and Tobago slightly different in terms of the rush and the lifestyle.
Tremendously different.
Trinidad is a faster pace, Tobago is a slow pace. The question here is it that the Tobagonian police officers have not been exposed to the type of training as Trinidadian police officers to deal with these sort of things? Because, I mean, we all know the Tobago's laid back. You go to Tobago to relax.
Well, that's a very valid point. Actually, speaking to one of the senior officers at the Scarborough station, you know, one of the complaints was that there isn't enough rotation. In that you have police officers in Tobago who get a little too comfortable. So in other words, they fall into a rut. They know everybody in the community knows them, but it's not in a way that is necessarily beneficial to the police service and the aims and objectives of the police service. So in other words, it's a comfortable, laissez-faire type of relationship they develop, you know, whereby no fuss, no bother, you know, so everything is, you know, nice and easy. And what he said these officers need to be rotated out of Tobago, bring in persons who sometimes the public in Tobago may not be too familiar with them and not as comfortable with them, because these officers will then be able to take firm decisions which the ones who are so embedded in the community may not be able to. In other words,
but there's another side to that coin, in that because they bring in somebody new and because Tobagonians are so accustomed to this, laid back, I like this, they may not come forward and talk to this other police officer.
Right, they may not talk to them, but the point is, that's why I say you set up a confidential, anonymous hotline whereby they can feel comfortable to call in with information. So they may not go to the officers directly, because the Crime Stoppers, the way we structure it, you don't go to police officers and give them the information. You call us at our confidential location. We then pass on the information to the police. So I'm suggesting a similar thing for Tobago, that Tobago has its own confidential crime hotline, so that you report, and as I say, not just crimes that have happened, but potential threats. You know that there's a neighbor down the street who is suspected of hiding an illegal firearm. You call that in confidentially. Nobody is asking for your name, your identity. There's no call ID, no call tracing, nothing of the sort. So therefore, you can feel that level of comfort. I mean, it's the exact same system we use in Crime Stoppers. We've used it successfully for years, and nobody has been able to say, well, look, their identity has been compromised or revealed as a result. So therefore, it's the same type of thing I'm offering to Tobago. I'm suggesting it. I'm laying it out on the table and saying, look, let's use this. It works. Let's make sure Tobago has its own system similar to that, whereby the public in Tobago can feel that sense of confidence to call in with information and report.
But there's so much that falls into that. You put this out, but then there's a call in. There needs to be a rapid response. Well, you need to have all
right. But the point
together.
is, you remember, when you think of the learnings of Confucius, the longest journey begins with a single step. In other words, if we don't ever make a start, we will always forever say, well, there are so many things to be done. I never look at life that way. I always look at it that, look, let's get a start. We will get the solutions as we go along. Because if you don't get moving, you never get anywhere, you know. And it's so easy to be stuck in the rut of inactivity and inaction, whereby you say, well, it's so daunting. And I say, no, 50,000 people on one island could never be unmanageable. That cannot be ungovernable. We are supposed to be able to say, hey, listen, we are moving with confidence to get Tobago to 0 murders in 1 year. And you work on a comprehensive plan, and you'll be able to celebrate that. You'll be able to have international headlines to say, hey, listen, this is basically a crime-free island. And we can do it. There are many things you can do. Take, for instance, the Port Authority, the fast ferry. I've said it repeatedly. That is your major source of illegal arms, ammunition, and narcotics coming into Tobago. Because listen to the irony of it, Leron. You have metal detector scanners for persons who are walking onto the boat. So a man is walking with a little bag. He's passing through a scanner. All right. But you have no scanner for vehicles. So a man could drive on with a van load of guns and ammunition, and nobody's scanning him. But you're scanning the man who is walking through. What's the sense in that? It's just absurd. You know, you also think the fact that you don't have police officers, you're supposed to have plainclothes police officers on every sailing of that ferry. walking up and down. They have their list of, persons with outstanding warrants, known criminals. You're looking, you're observing, and you're just picking them out in the crowd. And you speak to them. You have a conversation with them.
So you know who's going where and
so
who's
therefore,
going
you're sifting, because the criminal element has felt quite comfortable to just hop on that ferry and go to Tobago. And therefore, when they get there, if you are a criminal and you're running from Trinidad, you go to Tobago. What activity are you going to be getting up to in Tobago? You're going to be going there in a jacket and tie to look for a job in the House of Assembly? No, you're looking for criminal activity.
A leopard doesn't change its
That's right. So that's exactly what they'll be doing. So there's so many ways we could face these challenges.
I enjoyed the conversation, and I hope that the conversation continues from here on. You said you're meeting with the TJ
And it's translated into action.
And translated
That's
into
what
action.
we want to see.
Attorney at Law Martin Joe, thank you very much.